Today is an exciting day. I'm going to be harvesting a whole bunch of our Roselle calyxes from the field, and I'm going to make a recipe. I'm going to make a mock cranberry sauce. It's going to be more of a cranberry chutney, actually. I pulled this recipe from the Instagram page of Padma Lakshmi. She's one of my favorite chefs, and she had this wonderful recipe for an Indian spiced cranberry sauce. She used Vaccinium true cranberries. I love true cranberries. I actually had a cranberry bog in my backyard growing up in New England, and it's very fun to forage for cranberries if you live up north. However, I now have relocated to the deep south. I'm in Florida. I cannot grow cranberries. They require too much cold. So I have resorted to a fantastic cranberry substitute called Roselle. Now, this is so much more than a cranberry substitute. That doesn't really give the plant justice. It stands on its own as a really fantastic plant. In India, it is called gongora. It's also called Roselle. It's called sorrel in the Caribbean. And the Latin name is Hibiscus sabdorifa. The reason it's called mock cranberry or Florida cranberry is that these fleshy calyxes have a tart cranberry-like flavor, and they're really fantastic when they're cooked down into a mock cranberry sauce. You can also make different versions that have other spices, and today we're going to mess around with some Indian spices and make a chutney. Now, I am sure there are easier ways to harvest these calyxes. I've seen people cut the entire stalk and strip the stalk. However, I'm not ready to take out this entire plant yet. I just want to grab the number of calyxes that I need for this one individual recipe. I'm also going to leave a number of these calyxes on the plant so that I can let the seeds dry and get a nice seed crop off of the plant. So I've got multi-uses happening with this plant. I also do highly recommend that you try to eat the leaves if you're growing this plant, because the foliage is super tasty. It's got that similar cranberry tart flavor, very high in vitamin C. And I really like sauteing these leaves in something like a stir fry. There's something called a tarka that you basically toast some spices and lightly fry some onions, peppers, and in this case, sorrel or Roselle leaves in oil and spices. And you would throw that on something like dal. That's an Indian recipe. Put it on your lentils. You could put tarka on soup if you wanted. That's definitely one of my favorite ways to enjoy these leaves. Now, I have a pair of scissors here for harvesting because these do not come off the stalk easily. So let's harvest a big old basket and get them cooked down. So step one in this recipe is to separate the calyx petals from the seed pod inside. This can be a little bit of a tedious task, but it's actually pretty relaxing if you do it while listening to some music, watching a movie. You can process quite a bit in not too long. Now, we are going to set aside one of these seed pods we'll keep in the recipe. It's actually going to help to thicken the chutney. But other than that one, we are going to separate the calyxes from the pods. Now I'm going to give them a good rinse because I got lots of buggies in my garden. I don't really spray the Roselle patch. I'm going to give it a good rinse. So we're going to cook the Roselle calyxes down in some neutral oil. I'm going with a little less than a quarter cup of coconut oil. We're also going to add about a half cup of water to this recipe. We're going to cook this down on medium heat using a lid to trap the moisture. This is going to take quite a while, could be 30 minutes, and it's just going to cook the calyces down to a jammy sort of cranberry sauce-like consistency. And we want to make sure that we check on the calyces once in a while, stir them a bit. We don't want them to catch. That Roselle cooked quickly. It actually only took about 10 minutes to cook down to the consistency that I wanted. My next step is to take some fenugreek seeds and toast them. I have a little cast iron pan here, and I'm just gonna get them lightly toasted to bring out the aroma, and then I'm going to grind them up in my mortar and pestle. Finally, we're going to add our spices. We're going to add about a teaspoon of the toasted fenugreek seed, a half teaspoon of turmeric, a heaping teaspoon of cayenne powder, and a sprinkle of asafoetida powder. This is also called hing. This has a strong scent to it. You may have it in your pantry, you may not. This one's optional, but it will make it taste distinctively Indian and absolutely delicious. And we're just going to add our spices, cook it down to that perfect texture that you like. Next, we're going to sweeten up this recipe to take the edge off of those super tart Roselle calyxes. I used a small handful of jaggery. If you don't have that, you can use sugar or honey or maple, whatever sweetener you like. And you're just going to do this to your taste preference, depending on how tart and zippy you like your chutney. After we add the spices, we're gonna cook it down for about 5 to 10 more minutes just to let all the spices really soak into the recipe, and then it'll be ready to serve. And now it's time to taste test our Roselle pickle or Indian style cranberry sauce. Utter perfection. This is tangy, sweet. It's got a little spice from the cayenne pepper, and it has that signature Indian flavor with the asafoetida. I highly recommend you guys try this recipe. It's definitely a winner. It's a fantastic side dish, and growing Roselle in your garden could not be easier. All right, that's it for today's Food Forest Feast. See you guys next time.